Good morning. I'd like to call the Tuesday, May 2nd, 2024 Parking, Traffic, and Safety meeting to order. I guess it's Thursday, not Tuesday. Would you please take the roll?
Mary Lou McElwain. Here. Steve Pesci.
Here.
Mark Syracusa. Erica Wygonick.
Here.
Deputy Police Chief Mike Maloney.
Here.
Fire Chief Bill McQuillan.
Here.
Public Works Director Peter Rice.
Here.
Stephanie Casella, Planning Department.
Here.
David Allen. Chairman Andrew Bagley.
Here. And can we have the financial report? And I'd wait a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Mary Lou?
Yeah, I'll pick up where Harold left off. I'm just wondering about the 113% for parking violations. Is that different from other years, and why is this happening? Because one of the meter readers told me that people are using Parkmobile more than putting money into the kiosks. He said that's
It's the number
almost
one meter system, yes.
Yeah, so anyway, the 113%, and we're just going into May.
Well, we're 75% through the year because this goes by the fiscal year, so it ends in July.
Right.
Well, for starters, I always try to budget conservatively.
Yeah.
Because we have to cover a lot of things with this parking revenue.
Right.
A full 63% of our parking revenues go back into the city.
Right.
And for non-parking related items.
Right.
So we have to make sure that we cover those. So it tempers our expectations on what we think we can pay for when we temper our expectations with conservative revenue projections. Secondly, the new system is far more robust and can go back and tie people with multiple vehicles together with a much better accuracy than before. So we're catching a lot of folks that were playing the shell game of 3 different cars, 9 tickets on each car, but never to the 10 or more.
Oh.
And so that's happening, and the reorganization of the office staff has had a tremendous effect on their ability to execute the duties of the office. It's going very, very well down there with how we've tried to restructure things, and you're seeing some of that success here.
Okay, so it's not aggressive meter readers.
Look, there's no way to be aggressive if somebody's either got a paid session or they don't. If they don't have a paid session,
That's what you hear.
they get a citation.
That's what we hear and we read, that.
Well, yeah, of course, but
Parking
I would
enforcement
challenge you to
stuff.
write somebody a ticket with no violation in the
No,
software.
that's
It
not what
won't
I
let
mean.
you.
That's not what I mean.
It simply won't let you do that.
That's
So
not
I
what I
understand the
mean.
public perception, but,
Around and around and around.
right, it's...
Yeah, so what happens is the meter people do a lap,
I
say a
know.
2-hour lap.
Sure.
Yep.
And if there's an expired meter, they issue a ticket, and if there's
Right.
not, they don't. It's impossible to calculate or to predict who will and won't pay a meter on any particular
Right.
day. So over the course of the year, you're going to see a variance.
Sure, of course.
Just moving on.
So if I could just, one of the things that, I need to commend Ben and his staff is, historically, the meter enforcement operations has not been as good as it is now. The challenge is, historically, there would be times if it was raining, people wouldn't work. There was a lot of things that, there wasn't great management of it, and Ben's done a super job, getting the staff trained, getting them to understand what their job is. So in part, you're seeing a truing up of where parking enforcement revenues should be.
Correct.
And it's not, they do forgiveness on a regular basis with first-time violations. There's things that are out there that we're not, our job's not to go out and harass people.
We forgive roughly 91% of
Yeah,
legitimate
that's what the
first-time
meter
violations. So, I mean,
Told me.
that's
Are we calling
pretty
them
high.
meter readers?
Parking enforcement officers.
Yeah. I just wanted an explanation. But I
Well,
appreciate
there's a
that.
common misperception that is, we're just jackbooted thugs,
right, you
kicking
hear
down
it.
the doors.
We read it.
And that is not reality. I
there's-
mean, it's a well-run organization, and I commend Ben and his staff.
Good.
For doing that.
One final point. We don't use the word ticket because tickets get you into movies. It's a citation because you've worked against an ordinance and been found guilty of said. So
Okay.
that's why we call them citations.
Semantics, okay.
It's important.
And then the other thing I'll make note of is the new new High Hanover garage entrance is open, and the pass holders are exchanging their cards for the new cards. And
Thanks for the plug.
Good.
we have the same technology as we have in the Foundry Garage, so it should be a lot easier getting in and out now.
And there's also a design reconfiguration. If anybody goes to exit, you'll see 2 lanes for a much longer period of time than before, where it's split just before the exit. So that should help a lot. 9 cars in queue is going to work a heck of a lot better than 2 or 3.
As well as pedestrian fencing to keep
Correct.
pedestrians from crossing through those traffic areas.
Do notices go out for the Park Mobile residents? So they have to apply, and it's for 2 years, right? They get a notice after 2
We
years?
speak to that when we put them on the list, and yes, they'll get an email, 23 months in, and say, hey, if you're still living here, you need to come down and re-up.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, moving on to public comment. Do we have anybody on Zoom? Nobody in the room, so moving on to presentations, we have none. New business, discussion of the potential new projects for the NHDOT 10-year plan by DPW.
I'll speak to this. So in your packet is a lot of material that came from the Regional Planning Commission, Rockingham Planning Commission. This is dealing with the DOT's 10-year plan. It's a 2-year process. Every 2 years, they're just about to finalize the last one, and they're starting already with the next one. So what they do is the Regional Planning Commission works with all the towns and cities in the state and just solicits ideas for projects to be added to the plan. And all this paperwork here is how they prioritize these projects, what types of projects they're looking for, and the criterion what they would use to judge a project. And once they get all these possibilities and ideas from cities and towns, the Regional Planning Commission goes through them all and weights them and scores them and sees what the priority is. And out of all the projects they get in, there's maybe 8 projects that will make it to the list, to the state's list. Most recent ones included the study of the traffic circle in Portsmouth. That's an engineering study that was included in the current draft 10-year plan. The other project that made it is our project to remove the traffic signal on the Route 1 bypass at Coakley and Cottage. That's a CMAQ grant, and that will become official once they adopt the 10-year plan. Kate Street Bridge, there's a list of other projects, but they're mostly regional projects or major projects that the town would not be able to take on by their own, and looking for additional funding from the state and federal government. So it's brought this to the committee just to see if there's any ideas and thoughts that this committee may have for projects that would be suitable to be brought forward as possible projects. Other projects that are currently on the 10-year plan include the Beverly Hill Road bike project, the Route 1 widening multi-use path project from Wilson Road down to Ocean Road. Pease has a lot of airport improvements on the list. The Market Street and Maplewood Ave railroad crossings, the Elwyn Road side path project, the Market Street and Russell Street intersection, Grafton Drive intersection with the golf course and the bus station, Manchester Square intersection signalization at Pease, EV charging stations at Pease, the sound walls along I-95. I mentioned the traffic circle study and the Coakley Cottage signal removal, the Kate Street Bridge reconstruction, and I-95 high-level bridge painting. So those are projects that are currently on the 10-year list, to give you some idea of the types of projects that make it.
Erica?
2 questions. One, studying the traffic circle is currently on the 10-year plan. Is it advantageous for us to start advocating for improvements to the traffic circle now so that it's actually on the 10-year plan by the time?
Originally it was.
Or is it already part of that package?
Yeah, that's part of it, because originally the Planning Commission had suggested making it a 2-lane roundabout. That was what the project was. And when that went to the DOT for review, they said, no, we don't know if that's the proper solution. We have to do this engineering study first to determine what the solution should be. So it's
But the study and the solution are both part of the 10-year plan now, or just the study?
just the study at this point, the engineering study, because until they know what that final solution will be, they don't have you can't put it's not a project.
Okay.
So that would certainly be the next step after the study is done.
But we have to wait till the study's done to get it on the plan.
Yeah.
When do you need these ideas by? Like, is today our day, or could we also bring
No,
ideas
we
next
have
month?
through the end of
or-
the month. I mean,
Okay.
I think June 2nd was their deadline. They'd like to get projects in by then, so anytime over the next month, if you can get some ideas to me or to the Rockingham Planning Commission.
Chief Maloney, I got a question for you. Are your numbers up every year for accidents there on the circle?
We don't cover accidents at the circle. State police does.
Strictly state, huh? Okay. You respond. Yeah. You see, Bill, you see the numbers for responses going up?
I wouldn't, I haven't looked at it, so I wouldn't be able to comment
Right.
and give you an accurate representation of what's going on out there. I'm
I was wondering
sorry.
if they triage anything. Do they see senses of urgency with the state when they prioritize?
I believe this was the Rockingham Planning Commission that kind of pushed forward the study, so I don't know that the state
Yeah.
looks at this as a priority. It's more a local
Okay.
driving the state. But until they have a study back,
Right.
there's really nothing to push forward because
Yeah.
they need a solution before we can push the solution forward.
And currently in the 10-year plan, the study is listed for 2029 to be done.
Wow. There's public comments coming up on this, public meetings. Do you have the
On the
dates
10-year
those?
plan, well, they just finished the last round. That was that last fall.
Yeah.
Those are the public comment periods on the current draft 10-year plan,
Okay.
which is, should be signed into law this spring.
Okay.
So the next round of public comments on this will be 2 years from last fall, so fall of '25.
All right.
Steve?
Eric, thank you for bringing this to us and to the public. I know it usually goes through planning board and other projects, but I just want to note that Portsmouth has a really stellar history of applying for projects through the Regional Planning Commission and the DOT discretionary grants, CMAQ enhancements, other things. So I hope that continues, and I do hope that we as a group continue to put forward project ideas to the staff to consider. A lot of the things we talk about in terms of safety, there are funds in the 10-year plan for safety improvements, and you mentioned CMAQ, which is air quality and congestion projects. So I just, so the public knows, Portsmouth has a really good record of participating in the regional planning process and getting projects into the 10-year plan. The rail trail that's about to open this spring is a good example. They're not always highway projects. They're bike, pedestrian transit, so I hope we continue that track record.
I was just more specific to locations on Route 1. There used to be, historically, a committee that studied Route 1 and gave input. And Mary Lou, what?
Yeah, I thought I was, I
You were the
haven't heard
PTS
anything.
representative?
Yeah, I haven't gotten any.
So what they did is they didn't have meetings last year, and they restarted them again this year, and there'll be a public meeting coming up. Do you know, Director Rice, when that next one is?
They haven't scheduled it yet, but they said it will be this spring.
They haven't, so it'll be the spring.
I'm not on any emails, so I haven't received any information from.
I don't believe you're on the committee at
I
this
thought
point.
it was 2 years ago when,
You may have been on that committee, but
Oh,
I don't
it's been
believe you've
changed?
Yeah, it's been
Okay.
changed. They've been.
That's fine.
People have been reappointed.
Okay.
It just, based on the list I saw.
okay, Mark, it's okay.
But they are moving forward, but that's, again, I think 29 or 30 is like when they anticipate construction, so we're still a long ways off from any improvements. Erica?
Two things, Mark. Those public hearings that they have in the fall for the 10-year plan every other year, I feel like it can feel like the epitome of bureaucracy, but it's hard to know when they are and go to them, but it becomes really important to be successful, like Steve was saying. So if you remember 2 years or a year and a half from now to go to those, if there's things you care about, that's our chance to make a
The
difference.
city had a committee to deal with the issue of water country on Route 1.
Right.
Remember that, Peter?
It wasn't a committee, it was part of this committee.
Okay.
And we had a study done, I don't know, Eric, were you around when we did that? Yeah, we had a
Was
study.
that 10 years ago, 2
Yeah,
years ago?
that was one of the first projects I worked on, yeah.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, the folks on Banfield Road were advocating strongly for,
Right.
you know, to manage them, Water Country better. And the result of those studies, you know, really showed that Water Country was doing a decent job wayfinding, you know, providing, you know, trying to encourage people routing, but a lot of the challenges that you use Waze, you know, or some other app, and it takes you wherever it takes you, and you know, so it's difficult. But that and truck traffic has always been a big issue on Banfield Road.
Right, I remember that.
The other thing I was going to say in terms of projects that come to mind, I feel like a lot of our signal timings are pretty crummy, and a lot of those are state signals. Maybe the Coakley project would be a way to get that done. I mean, those are not hugely expensive improvements, but I feel like there's a lot of signals near each other that are not coordinated, or the coordination is off. I can pay attention and try and write it down when that happens, but I feel like that's something that it's a low-cost, high-yield improvement that I see systematically throughout, certainly Portsmouth and probably other places I pay attention more in Portsmouth, because I'm thinking, is this one that I can say, hey, here, go take a look at, or is this one that it's like, no, it's the state, it's a bigger.
That's something we're working on all the time, and we do have the system along Route 1 Lafayette is all state, and that is coordinated, and you'll sit there sometimes because it's basically a pre-timed system. It's coordinated to get flow along Route 1 in
Yeah.
the area. And then we have the system up on Woodbury Ave with all the 7 signals up there that are interconnected. But we figured out some technical problems up there from a lightning strike that put out some of the equipment.
Yeah.
Other than that, on Maplewood downtown, we have the 3-4 signals all in a row, but we had it in coordination, and it was actually working better out of coordination. So, but any time you have that, we do have the capabilities of retiming the signals, changing that. So yeah,
Okay.
just bring it to my attention. We can
Okay.
certainly address them.
So the left-hand turn going down, you take a left heading north off of Borthwick. That's more driver behavior, that back up there,
The
than
left.
the lights.
Oh, coming off of
So if you're
Borthwick.
on Borthwick, you take a left, you're heading north. That bottles up, because cars will be like right in the middle.
Yeah, 33.
Light related, that's my understanding,
Well,
that's
it's-
driver
it's-
That's
behavior.
caused by the light.
It's caused by the light at Coakley and Cottage, because as soon as you take the left out of Borthwick, you come to that next light at Coakley and Cottage.
Right.
And that's why we have the grant, the CMAQ grant, to remove that signal. And so you'd only have the signal at Borthwick, and then you get right to the traffic circle.
Steve?
Eric, what is the scheduled year for that Coakley Cottage
That
project?
is, the CMAQ grant should be available this year, and then we can start start that project forward.
Fantastic.
So
later this year.
the necessary step in order to be able to do that is to provide an alternative route
Yes.
out of the Coakley neighborhood. We're looking at a connector, which is in the CIP, which would go between the Fairfield Inn and the plumbing supply store.
Got it.
So we're at the initial stages of that. We have a conceptual layout that works, but we need to work with the impacted property owners. We need to have a discussion with the neighborhood, and there's a process that we have to go. But we're it's starting to move forward on that. So you should see some action related to that. And once we move forward, it's something that will brief the committee what we're doing. But it's interesting because I ride my bike out that way, and I saw a family walking through the parking lots of the Fairfield and with a stroller, cutting across to get to the rail trail and go through. So it's like, so there's obviously a need for that connection, at least from a pedestrian standpoint. And we believe it's an appropriate, it'll provide another means of access for people to get in and out of that neighborhood, and it'll be positive overall. So.
Because at the end of it, if you go up Coakley Road, if you keep going straight, you can see that space going on to Borthwick Avenue. Is there an easement? Is there a paper street there?
Up
Or-
towards the power,
There's a power, oh, it's electric.
yeah, it's electric stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's open space.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a rail trail parking location out there. We received a grant from
In that
Congressman
open
Pappas
area.
to do that, so that's going to be something that is going to be moving forward. So it'll
When are
be
they
nice.
going to When's that parking going to be used? Is that strictly Portsmouth Hospital?
That's the hospital.
That's up to them?
Yep.
They're going to have a trolley system or something?
Totally outside of our purview.
Yeah.
Steve?
Just one area I wanted to ask about as a project. First area that pops into my head is Bartlett and Islington Junction. And I know we have the funds for the rail bridge, but is that a project that we have ever considered, or is it already in consideration for 10-year plan funding? That whole interchange.
Yeah, the Kate and Bartlett. and
Kate Bartlett,
Railroad Bridge. Yeah, so we have as you mentioned, we have the grant to do the design of a new bridge at that location, and that would include realigning Bartlett,
Okay.
the intersection, to make the improved flow. It's not in the 10-year plan at this point for the reconstruction, but the idea is that once we get this design done, then we would be eligible for another grant for the construction of the bridge. So, but we could probably investigate whether that could be a 10-year plan project as well. It doesn't hurt to have it in multiple tracks,
Correct.
see which one comes first, or either. Yep.
Or some other discretionary grant that might appear on the horizon.
It's an awkward situation, though, because it's not a city piece of infrastructure, it's the railroads. So railroad participation is critical. The Chrissy grant, which is what we received, is specific to railroad, and the railroad's really familiar with those things. A 10-year plan with the railroad may be more challenging to incorporate their third-party participation.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's obviously something that we'll explore, but
Thank you.
All right, any more questions on the 10-year plan? All right, moving on to old business, e-bike and scooter use on sidewalks. Report back on potential changes to city ordinances.
So, worked with the legal department on this. There was concern last time about the wording of what a vehicle is and how it applies in Chapter 7, because it says that vehicles are not allowed on sidewalks. So what we've come up with here is this amended language in red. So it further explains that the driver of a vehicle, including all classes of electric bicycles, scooters, skateboards, and unicycles, shall not drive within any sidewalk area. So this makes it clear that not only are vehicles not allowed, but also these electric items, it's as defined here. So this is what we're proposing to make the change into Chapter 7, and we want to bring it to this committee to get some input.
just to point out, too, that vehicle is cited how many times in?
Over 300 times in Chapter 7, so we weren't looking to change exactly what a vehicle is, but we wanted to add to this section to.
So this seemed like the easiest, most expeditious way of taking care of the concern.
Yeah, it certainly simplifies what Durham did, several pages. So this is an add-on ordinance. This is not negating the others.
No, it's taking, this is Section 7.341.
Okay.
As written in black lettering here, and then we would be adding in this red letters, the red
Okay.
words, so modifying it.
Okay.
Do we need to use the word electric? Can we just say include all classes of bicycles, scooters, skateboards, and unicycles? I feel like this makes it seem like, but regular bicycles are fine. I know there's
yeah,
a
that's
very
right, yeah.
small window of bicycles that are allowed on sidewalks, but
All tires.
it's like, those tires are tiny. I mean, I think my kids were out of those by like 4, age 4. I mean, I mean, what's allowed is very small.
Yes.
I don't want to complicate it, but if we're going to list out, I mean, the way I read this is electric bicycles aren't allowed, all types of scooters aren't allowed, all types of skateboards aren't allowed, all types of unicycles. So it feels like we're expressly overlooking bicycles.
This is meant to be electric scooters, electric skateboards, electric unicycles, electric everything is what this wording is meant to it.
This vehicle already includes bicycles, right?
Yes, and there's also a state law that says bicycles aren't allowed on sidewalks.
Right.
Any type of bicycle.
How about, I think the language needs to be a little more pointed.
Yeah,
relative to
I was just thinking
each
that.
version of electric.
Okay.
Clarify that we mean electric bicycles, electric scooters, electric skateboards.
Yeah, these are items that would be going faster than you would normally expect.
Because I wouldn't want to see us, I know a lot of the elementary school kids take their Razor scooters. I don't think the spirit of this is to put those in the street.
Those have wheels small enough to be on the sidewalk.
Steve?
I was just going to echo Erica's comment because I think somewhere else in the ordinances we do have the rules about bicycles, but I think I agree with what Erica said. We need to just think about that whether it should have electric, or just say bicycles. The other thing I just wanted to point out that this change, which I support, relates to operations of the devices. Let me just use the word devices. We have the bigger issue, which I know we've backed away from, but I still someday would like to have the conversation about the parking and storage of these devices. And I will include in that mopeds, which are vehicles, the issue of mopeds being parked on sidewalks. So to me, these are still issues that we need to talk about as a committee/city, is the parking and storage of devices and whether mopeds, which are vehicles, should be parked and stored on our sidewalk infrastructure. Different, I understand.
Yeah, and we do have a section in Chapter 7 about parking of the bikes. That was brought up, that was added in a few years ago when there was concern in other cities nationwide about these bike share and electric scooter shares, and they were just getting dropped everywhere.
Correct.
So we do have an ordinance about that where they can be parked. And currently scooters, mopeds can be parked on sidewalks as long as they're not interfering with pedestrian routes.
I guess being in a college town, I can just give you the kind of the vision down the road that the quantity and style of devices is going to continue to expand and multiply. And at a certain point, the devices, if they're not managed correctly, become obstructions. We're dealing with this in Durham. You mentioned the Durham ordinance. We're now in evolution 2 of that, and it is something we want to get ahead of.
Yeah.
Well, we do ticket people when they park at their scooters in the wrong spot, and the fact that so many people drive scooters downtown and park them for free relieves the parking crunch, because
get
that's a car that's.
Oh,
So I
hey,
think it's working now.
I totally accept it, and I own one of those things.
But I think your point's well taken. We should keep an eye on it, but I don't think we need to necessarily get out in front of it, because it's working now at the moment.
At the moment.
Yeah.
Mary Liz?
I just wanted to ask about section 7.344 and 7.345, which are roller skates, coasters, skateboards, rollerblading regulations. Are those staying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And how are we going to enforce this regulation, this new ordinance? Hello?
Well, obviously, enforcement comes to us. And when you say this, what specifically are
I'm
you
talking
referring
about
to?
any electric.
We would enforce it just like we enforce all city ordinances. We wouldn't change anything.
Okay.
Yeah, we're obligated to enforce what the legal department, city council votes on for ordinances. I mean, we have hundreds of ordinances that we enforce, so this is,
Are there fines and fees for this?
Yeah, this monetary fines for city ordinance violations. I'd have to look at 7. Usually it's at the beginning or the end of the ordinance that'll actually stipulate what the fine is for each offense.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I don't know what it is for this.
Thank you.
Sure.
So what I'm hearing is we more or less agree with this, but we'd like to clarify that we mean electric for all the devices
Yes.
listed.
And I think the state is bringing this up in the fall, under state regulations. I think it's not until the fall.
Yeah, it's
Right?
it's
Well, we'll see.
Each legislative session brings
it.
unknowns, so we'll see.
Do
Are
you
you
need-
looking for a motion
I
to
was gonna
support
ask
this
about
with
that.
the amendment?
Yeah.
I move to support this change of language, but including it more pointed relative to electric.
I can second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our only motion. Police monthly accident report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For month of March, we had 58 total crashes, 30 of which were reportable.
Any questions? All right. Outdoor dining update.
Yes. So we've got, the first restaurants have got their barriers out in place now. They were done last week. We have more this week coming in. Thirsty Moose is in place now, and the Rosa Restaurant has their barriers in place. And I believe this morning we were doing the Durbar Square on Market Street, at Market Square. And then the next ones would likely be Moxie on Penn Hollow and Cheese Louise and the Noah Cafe on Congress Street. So those are the ones that would be taking up parking spaces or a loading zone.
Okay, and just, I don't know if this is the right place to bring it up or not, but I've had a couple people reach out to me about some umbrellas have advertising on them, which I'm not necessarily opposed to, but I guess it's not allowed in the ordinance. And some of the tables have not been accessible tables. Is there, who would,
That's part of our
The ongoing-
internal, our
Okay.
internal folks, once they get in place, we inspect them and go through it.
they have to order new furniture, umbrellas? I imagine there's a few weeks for that to happen.
Yeah,
turnover.
it may be, I don't think the requirement is for all seats to be handicap accessible. There just needs to be the ability to accommodate. So,
Yeah, and it's being done with, they're required to build a platform in their area that brings it up to curb level so that wheelchairs can get into the seating area easily.
Okay, excellent. All right, before we go to miscellaneous, we do have one public commenter that was having technical difficulties earlier.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'd like to suspend the rules and reopen public comment if possible.
so moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and I believe it's Kelly Shaw.
Yes. Hi, Kelly, go ahead.
Hey, Kelly.
Hold on,
Hang
Kelly.
on, Kelly, you're very quiet.
Try that
Can you
again.
hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. The rail trail is fabulous. We've had more traffic on there than it's not imaginable. One of my concerns is, of course, is parking. People are parking their vehicles there where it says no motor vehicles. And I was wondering when the TP lot is going to be set up, or what we can do in regards to that. And the other issue I had is, I don't know, Deputy Chief, we had a major accident on Beanfield Road right at the rail trail.
She's gone.
Kelly, you cut out.
Kelly, are you there?
If she's able to hear, I can speak to her question relative to the TP property. The congressional funding from Congressman Pappas included that area, and so that work should be moving forward. Eric, I don't know if you know any specifics relative to when we could potentially see the funding?
No, I don't. That's, I can check with planning department. They would know more on that, Peter Britz. But
Well, we'll find out that and report back. But, it was a positive step forward to receive that funding.
Okay. You can hear me again?
Yep.
We can.
Okay, the other thing was, there was a motor vehicle crash next to the rail trail on Sunday. A car flipped over right next to the rail trail. Can Chief say anything about that? How if they were speeding or if it was a medical event?
It was a medical event. It had nothing to do with aggressive or reckless driving or violations of motor vehicle or the rail trail. So most, if not everything, indicates that it was caused by a medical event.
Yeah, it was pretty serious and hairy from it being flipped over. And the other thing is, we got to do something about the trucks on Banfield Road, 18-wheelers, box trucks. The ordinance states no trucks allowed on Banfield, and they're still coming down speeding. If we can get better signage on Ocean Road, because now it's going to be blocked by the leaves again, if we can, get more site recognition on that and maybe do something on Heritage and Constitution to say that there's no trucks allowed on Banfield. I just don't know what to do. The neighbors are up in arms. Yes, I need to get signatures still, but I was just hopeful that we can do stuff. I know the police are down there. I've seen a couple people get tickets recently. So I know they're doing their due diligence. But if we can maybe get some more educational out there. Any thoughts, Eric?
I know the state had looked at the signage on Ocean Road, so, because that's their road as far as signage goes, we can look at the Heritage, Constitution, and the intersection with Ocean Road to see if we can improve our no
and-
truck signage.
And the other thing that I came across is that there was an 18-wheeler trying to take a left-hand turn towards Ocean. They can't make that turn, so they stop traffic in all directions and have to back up and, you know, get all the other vehicles in the way, and it's really a hazard because I'm walking a lot that way, so of course I'm seeing more things going around, but I don't see any reason why the state couldn't make the sight lines a little better by having the signage a little bit longer, because they're coming down and up the hill and then they're seeing the sign, and then it's going to be blocked by the trees again. So I don't know what we can do.
All right.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks.
Okay. And now for miscellaneous. Mary Lou?
Yes, I had concerns about the vehicles turning left into the skateboard park coming east on Route 33, and then vehicles coming out of the skateboard park turning left, also going east. Last week, or the week before, I was going west on 33, and a vehicle came out of the skateboard park and sat in that lane until she had an opening to turn left. So it blocked traffic in our direction, and it was very unsafe. And I've had friends and neighbors who live in Newington and Hampton who come this route and said that they see frequent unsafe turning left. I don't know what we do about this, but it is a concern. And now we've got this big event coming up on the 18th, and there should be some way of regulating, informing people. It's the left-hand turn that I'm concerned about, coming out of the park and going into the park. I don't know what we do about it. I don't think a traffic study was done. I've been trying to find that online, on the website. I don't think a traffic study was done initially.
I believe there was a review of that, the traffic impacts associated with that. You know, I know Eric, you know, we've looked at it. I don't necessarily share the concern. I mean, I share a concern, but I don't share the level of concern. I go into that site on a regular basis because you know, there's continued construction going on there. And I'm not finding the challenges of coming in and out. You know, I think part of it's an education thing. You know, maybe some additional signage to, you know, to keep people informed that they shouldn't be pulling out and waiting in the. I mean, that's just bad.
That was
that's just
excessive.
bad driving.
That was excessive.
So I, you know, we'll monitor it, but I'm not. It hasn't risen to the level of concern that you're expressing, in my mind. But you know, Eric, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I mean, going into the park, you have the left turn lane where they can sit and wait for a left turn, a gap in traffic. And coming out, you know, it's difficult. There's 5
Yeah.
lanes of traffic there
Yeah.
to get across. The only, you know, signage by itself saying no left turn is not really going to be effective. In order to physically restrict that, you'd have to put a median island out in the middle of Route 33.
I don't know the
think that's
answer. I just think
desirable,
it's a
no.
problem.
I mean, Erica's suggestion, you know, a number, you know, is a limit, you know, bring it down to 1 lane
Yeah.
through, and then it becomes, you know, it's not a multi-lane, and do traffic calming
Yeah.
through that area. I mean, that's requires some investment in the roadway reconfiguration. But you know, as time goes on, we'll get more information. It's very popular. The rail trail parking has been completed. There's additional parking that was
Yeah.
installed there. The construction laydown area is still in use, and it will be probably in use for another 1.5 or 2 years. So we have construction traffic in addition to all this other traffic.
Yeah.
It is something that we're aware of and we're monitoring, but you know, at this point, it hasn't risen to that level of like, oh my God, we got a major problem here.
Well, the park hasn't technically opened yet, and the warmer weather is coming. I think we're going to see
You're
it.
getting full blown everybody there. It doesn't matter if it's
They're from
snowing or
everywhere.
raining. I mean, the place is packed.
Yeah.
Steve?
Just to add to what Mary Lou was saying, what I noticed on eastbound 33, right now the way it's marked on the pavement, the left turn lane onto Islington begins. And the other day I had a situation where I was going to go left on Islington, so began to get in the left turn lane. There was a vehicle ahead of me that I thought they were going left on Islington, then they slammed on the brakes to make a left into the park, which surprised me. So, there's that piece. Like, it's new. I didn't know you were going to turn left into the park. I thought you were, getting in the left-hand lane to continue 100 yards, whatever it is, and make a left on Islington. So I can see that might be an issue. I don't know if there's a pavement marking adjustment that could be done or a sign. I know it's a DOT road, but just throwing it out there, I
It's
do
not a
know.
DOT road. That's urban compact.
Okay.
Yeah, we could look at making,
Okay.
maybe making it 2 left turn lanes, and so you don't get into it too soon, like you're saying.
I defer to the engineers, but.
Okay, thank
Mary
you.
Lou, you mentioned special events, so if there's a special event there, it's either going to be the city of Portsmouth having a special event.
Yeah, I was just talking about the opening on May 18th. That was the only
Well,
one. I
there's
was-
also going to be in the future, anticipating other special events there. So that comes into police coverage,
Yeah.
whether it's private or public. Yeah.
We do advanced planning whenever we do those.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour window. Right.
But that, I mean, it's a good point. On the 18th, we should probably have, coordination of some sort ahead of time. So, because it could be well attended.
Yeah.
Just aiding, getting in and
Around
around.
parking again.
What?
Yeah, well, what we'll do is we'll put signage and get people to the park and ride
Well.
and the Plains Ball Field.
Any other miscellaneous?
I have one item, an update on Woodbury Ave traffic calming. So I have this diagram. It didn't make it into the packet. We were just working on this week. But we are working to purchase some additional speed signs. And this is the layout of where we're proposing to put the speed feedback signs. This is Woodbury Ave, and this is Echo Ave to the left, Rockingham Ave, I-95 here to the right. So we would propose a permanent speed sign underneath the power lines across over here. This is a sign that's currently, was on Maplewood Ave at the bypass, but it's not being effective there, so we could move it to here. We would purchase a portable sign and put it on the utility pole at this location, then another portable sign on the utility pole past Maplewood, and then coming inbound, install a portable sign on the utility pole here in advance of Maplewood. There's an existing portable sign already at Maple, and then install another portable sign at the intersection of Farm Lane. So we'd have 3 speed feedback signs in each direction on Woodbury Ave in this section. This is another existing one that's already in place for the Franklin School, new Franklin School. So we're in the process of purchasing the signs, and we'd be installing these as they come available. In addition to this, we've also ordered stenciling for the 25 mph that we would add to the roadway in key locations, just to reinforce. People who don't look at signs may be looking at pavement markings and realize what the speed limit is.
So this will be a good opportunity to do before and after measurements in terms of, effectiveness, and so hopefully we see some improvements.
Just had a
Mary Lou?
question on the speed indicator signs. Are they majority solar or battery? Because I'm wondering why we don't have more solar, actually.
Yeah, we have a mix of solar and battery right now, but solar we've had a problem with. We had one on Beverly Hill that just lost, in the wintertime it doesn't get enough solar, and it would go dark, especially on a street with a lot of volume, such as Woodbury Ave,
Yeah.
where that sign is constantly flashing, it wears the solar power down.
Okay.
So we're better off using batteries on these high volume streets. And they each come with a couple and recharge. Well, we're always recharging them and swapping them out. So-
Right.
And solar do have batteries. So
Yes.
they're attached, so it's.
Right.
But yeah, and
They
tree
have to be
yeah.
charged, right?
Yep, and tree coverage and other
The
things.
solar is intended to charge the battery, but they can't keep up in certain conditions.
Okay.
And foliage impacts the ability
Yeah. Right.
to do it as well.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot of foliage on Woodbury.
Yep.
Anyone else? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?